Chapter 1. Sunrise Serenade. The Rhythm of the Land. The rooster's defiant crow cut through the pre-dawn darkness. A familiar alarm clock nestled amidst the straw of Silas' barn. He stirred, muscles already humming with the rhythm of countless sunrises. In the pre-lamplight silence, he could almost hear the earth itself waking, a low hum rising from the fields he knew like the lines on his own weathered face. Silas slipped out of bed, the worn floorboards groaning under his callous feet. He pulled on his overalls, the fabric as stiff as morning frost, and stepped outside. The air was a clean slap, carrying the earthy scent of turned soil and the distant song of awakening birds. He watched the eastern horizon ignite in a riot of orange and gold, painting the dew-kissed fields in shades of promise. This was his canvas, this vast expanse of tilled earth and rustling corn, a masterpiece he'd been crafting for as long as he could remember. His father before him, and his father before that, all their dreams and sweat woven into the very fabric of this land. A warm hand slipped into his. Amelia, her hair a curtain of silver in the dim light, stood beside him, her smile as familiar as the sunrise. They didn't need words. Together, they watched the world come alive, a shared breath in the symphony of their life. The house stirred. Young Tommy's bare feet thumped down the stairs, and the smell of frying bacon wafted from the kitchen. Soon, their farm, their world, would be buzzing with the day's tasks, feeding the animals, mending fences, and tending to the delicate dance of life that unfolded each season in these fields. But for now, there was only the sun's slow ascent, painting the sky in hues of hope, and the quiet understanding between a man and his land, a woman and his heart. This was where Silas belonged, a beat in the rhythm of the earth, a melody hummed in the whispers of the wind. This was a day, like countless others, that promised both struggle and grace, and Silas, weathered but unyielding, met it with the steady gaze of a man who knew the land's song and was ready to dance. Chapter 2. Fields of Gold and Shadows. Whispers of Change. The midday sun beat down on the cornfields, turning the stalks into gilded sentinels guarding rows of emerald leaves. Silas, his shirt plastered to his back with sweat, paused to wipe his brow and squint at the horizon. A flicker of movement caught his eye. In the distance, a group of figures bent low in the fields, their silhouettes like scattered crows against the gold. Migrant workers. Their arrival was as predictable as the seasons, their presence a stark reminder of the ever-shifting landscape of his own life. He recalled his youth, his father's hand calloused from the same labor, and a pang of unease snaked through him. Were their lives so different, separated only by a few years and a few miles of dusty road? He made his way to the border of their field, the silence broken only by the rhythmic rasp of machetes against stalks. They stopped their work, eyes wary but curious. Among them was a woman, her face creased with the map of a hard life, holding a small child like a fragile offering against the harsh sun. Hesitantly, Silas greeted them, his voice gruff but not unkind. Conversation was slow, laced with broken English and hesitant smiles. He learned they were from south of the border, driven north by drought and whispers of work. Silas offered them water, the shared cool liquid bridging the gap between their worlds. As they exchanged stories, The woman's words fell heavy on Silas' ears. Stories of falling prices, rising costs, whispers of discontent brewing amongst the migrant workers. A storm was gathering on the horizon, not in the clear blue sky, but in the murmurs of change, in the growing unease that echoed the unease in his own gut. Back in his own field, the golden stalk seemed to shimmer with a new, ominous light. The sun, once a familiar friend, now cast long, unsettling shadows. As the day surrendered to twilight, Silas sat on his porch, the silence broken only by the cricket's chirp. The familiar rhythm of the land felt off-key, discordant notes echoing the whispers of uncertainty. The fields of gold, his golden fields, now cast long shadows of doubt. The future, once predictable as the changing seasons, was a storm cloud on the horizon, threatening to rewrite the melody of his life. And for the first time, Silas, the man who knew the land's song, wasn't sure he could dance to its new rhythm. Chapter 3. Plows and Politics. A town meeting simmers. The town hall buzzed with an unfamiliar energy, the air thick with the smoke of cigars and the murmur of heated debate. Silas shifted uncomfortably on the hard wooden pew, his calloused hands gripping the worn grain of his hat. Tonight, the usual discussions of weather and crops were drowned out by a storm of a different kind, one stirred by whispers of progress and the threat of change. At the heart of the storm sat young David, the college-bound son of the town's banker. With the fiery idealism of youth, he championed the adoption of new farming methods, chemical fertilizers, mechanized tools, promises of higher yields and easier lives. Across from him, old man Jeb, his beard like moss clinging to weathered rock, spat out his dissent. "These fancy chemicals," he thundered, voice hoarse with the dust of countless harvests, "poison the land, drain the soul out of it. Them machines, they turn a farmer into a factory worker, replace his sweat with gears and oil." The room divided along familiar lines. The younger farmers, eager for a break from the back-breaking labor, found David's words alluring. The older ones, like Silas, their veins already etched with the map of hard-won experience, clung to the old ways, to the language of the land they understood. Silas listened, his own furrow of doubt deepening. He saw both sides, the allure of a lighter burden, the fear of losing the pulse of the earth beneath his hands. His father's voice echoed in his memory. "Son, the land ain't just what you grow on, it's what grows you." Could new methods, promised riches, uproot that fundamental truth? The debate raged on, fueled by fear and hope, tradition and ambition. Silas caught David's eye, a flicker of respect passing between them, two generations grappling with the same question: which path led to a brighter future, the one carved by tradition or the one paved by progress? As the meeting stretched into the night, a feeling of unease settled in Silas' gut. The storm outside, long brewing, finally unleashed its fury, the wind howling like a wounded beast. Was this a reflection of the storm within the town, of the uncertainty gnawing at their very roots? Stepping out into the rain-battered night, Silas looked up at the churning sky. The familiar constellation seemed askew, lost in the chaos. He turned back to the dimly lit town hall, the window glowing like a beacon in the storm. Inside, the arguments continued, the quest for answers far from over. And Silas, caught in the maelstrom of change, was left to wonder, could he find his own rhythm in this new dance, or would the old ways be swept away by the tide of progress? Chapter 4. Dust Clouds and Doubts. A Sun's Departure. The midday sun blazed down on the fields, shimmering off the dusty furrows like scattered diamonds. Silas squinted, wiping sweat from his brow, his gaze landing on the figure bent low in the next row. It was Thomas, his son, tall and lean, hair bleached golden by the relentless sun. Yet, in that familiar frame, Silas saw a stranger, a boy on the cusp of a departure that threatened to sever the very cord that bound them. Dinner that night was a tense affair. The silence hung heavy, punctuated only by the clinking of forks and the crackling fire in the hearth. Finally, Thomas broke the spell, his voice hesitant yet firm. "Pa," he began, "I got accepted to the college in Berkeley." The words hit Silas like a rogue gust of wind, stealing the breath from his lungs. College. A word whispered in dreams, a path he'd once yearned for, a sacrifice he'd made for the land, for family. His own father's withered face flashed in his mind, the unspoken disappointment etched in the lines around his eyes. Would that same disappointment now cloud his own relationship with Thomas? He forced a smile, gruff but genuine. "That's good, son. Real good." But the words tasted like dust, dry and hollow in his mouth. He saw the flicker of doubt in Thomas's eyes, the unspoken question, was this pride or disappointment? The conversation that followed was a dance of unspoken emotions. Thomas, filled with the heady anticipation of his future, painting landscapes of knowledge and possibilities. Silas, his heart a patchwork of pride and longing, trying to bridge the gap with stories of his own youthful dreams, dreams left to wilt under the sun of responsibility. That night, as the moon cast silver shadows across the fields, Silas sat on the porch, the silence a deafening echo of his thoughts. He looked at the worn photograph tucked in his pocket, a younger Silas, eyes bright with youthful dreams, arms slung around a smiling Amelia. This life, the land, the sweat and the calloused hands, it was all he knew, all he'd ever wanted. But was it enough? Was denying Thomas his own dreams a price he could bear? The wind rustled through the cornstalks, whispering secrets only the land knew. The stars, silent observers, seemed to hold the answers in their twinkling depths. And Silas, caught between the past and the future, the dust of doubt swirling in his mind, wondered, could he let go of the only life he knew and watch his son soar on wings of his own, even if it meant letting go of a part of himself along the way? The dawn would bring another day, another sunrise painting the fields in gold. But as Silas closed his eyes, he knew the sunrise would cast long shadows, shadows of his own unfulfilled dreams, and the uncertain path that lay ahead, a path where father and son might walk shoulder to shoulder. Or where one would stand at the crossroads, watching the other disappear into the dust clouds of a new horizon. Chapter 5. Thunder in the Heartland, Nature's Cruel Twist. The sky, once a placid canvas of cerulean blue, churned with an ominous gray. The playful breeze that danced through the cornfields morphed into a menacing growl, carrying the scent of distant rain and a palpable tension. Silas, his eyes narrowed against the swirling dust, felt a knot of apprehension twist in his gut. He knew the storm wouldn't be a summer shower, not this one. This storm reeked of despair, of the kind that could strip a farmer bare and leave him begging for scraps. The first drops fell like heavy tears, splattering on parched earth. Then the heavens unleashed their fury. Wind howled like a banshee, ripping through the fields, flattening stalks like green soldiers laid low. Rain pummeled the land, turning furrows into muddy rivers, carrying away topsoil and dreams along with the rushing water. Silas stood amidst the tempest, a lone sentinel against the onslaught. He watched, helpless and heartbroken, as the storm battered his life's work. The corn, tall and proud just hours ago, lay broken and drowned, stalks twisted like tortured limbs. The soybeans, green jewels promising bounty, were washed away, leaving behind a desolate brown wasteland. Inside the house, Amelia's face mirrored the storm's fury, etched with the worried lines of a future suddenly bleak. Thomas, ever the optimist, tried to offer empty reassurances, but his voice wavered like the flickering lamplight. Even the dog, usually boisterous, cowered beneath the kitchen table, sensing the cataclysmic shift in their world. The storm raged through the night, a symphony of destruction punctuated by flashes of lightning and the mournful groan of the wind. When dawn finally bled through the storm-racked clouds, it revealed a landscape of devastation. The fields, once a source of life and livelihood, were a graveyard of shattered dreams. Silas surveyed the wreckage, his boots sinking into the muddy earth. His heart, heavy with the weight of ruin, mirrored the storm-laden sky. The meager savings, the debts already gnawing at their edges, they wouldn't be enough to weather this storm. This wasn't just a failed harvest. It was a reckoning, a cruel twist of nature that threatened to uproot their very existence. As the sun, pale and hesitant, cast its watery light over the ravaged fields, Silas knew they were at a crossroads. He could cling to the land, to the life he knew, and gamble on a meager harvest next year, risking everything they had. Or he could venture into the unknown, swallow his pride, and seek help, a possibility as foreign and unsettling as the storm itself. The thunder of the storm may have subsided, but its echoes resonated in the silence that followed. It was a silence deafening, pregnant with a question that clawed at Silas' insides. Would he stand firm, rooted in the wreckage of his dreams? Or would he uproot himself, seeking a new path in the uncertain aftermath of the storm? The answer, like the wind now whispering through the broken stalks, remained elusive, yet a choice needed to be made. For Silas, the sun's pale light wasn't just a harbinger of a new day. It was the torch of a decision he could no longer postpone. His family, his future, hung in the balance, waiting for him to choose his path through the dust and debris of a life forever altered by the thunder in the heartland. Chapter 6. Whispers of Revolt, Seeds of Discontent. The morning breeze carried more than the scent of dust and dew. It carried whispers, like tumbleweeds rolling across the parched plains, whispers of unrest, of a storm brewing not in the sky, but in the hearts of the men bent low in the neighboring fields. The migrant workers, usually silent observers in the rhythm of Silas' life, were restless, their faces etched with a new defiance. These whispers spoke of a man named Cesar Chavez, a name that resonated like a distant thunderclap, echoing across the fields of discontent. They spoke of strikes, of demanding fair wages, of a voice finally given to their voiceless toil. The spark had ignited, fanned by whispers of past injustices, and ignited by the hope for a better tomorrow. Silas, his own field still recovering from the storm's wrath, watched from afar, a lone oak amidst a field of swaying reeds. He understood their struggle, the sweat under the sun, the meager wages, the dreams perpetually out of reach. But he also saw the potential danger, the clash of wills that could leave everyone bloodied and broken. His own hands, though weathered and worn, were calloused from the same soil. He was no landowner, just another farmer teetering on the edge of survival. Joining the strike meant jeopardizing his already fragile future, risking the anger of the powerful men who held the strings of his harvest. But staying silent felt like betrayal, a turning away from the echoes of his own long-suppressed dreams. Night found Silas wrestling with his conscience, the flickering lamplight mirroring the turmoil within. Amelia, her face etched with worry, offered no easy answers. Thomas, eyes alight with youthful idealism, championed the cause of the migrant workers, urging his father to stand with them. The weight of choice pressed down on Silas, heavy as the storm-laden clouds. Could he, a man of the land, find his voice amidst the shouts of others? Could he bridge the gap between his own struggle and theirs, between the fear of reprisal and the hunger for justice? He looked out the window, the distant campfires of the migrant workers burning like defiant stars in the night. The whispers turned into shouts in his mind, shouts demanding action, demanding a choice. And as dawn approached, painting the sky with the hues of uncertainty, Silas knew he could no longer remain a silent observer. He had to choose, to find his own melody in the rising chorus of discontent, a melody that could either harmonize with their struggle or dissonance tear them all apart. The sun that would rise over the fields wouldn't just bring another day, it would bring a reckoning. And Silas, standing at the crossroads of fear and hope, had to decide whether he would stand alone or step into the unknown, joining the whispers that threatened to become a roar that could shake the very foundations of the life he knew. Chapter 7. Breadlines and Barter. Desperate Measures. Winter arrived with a snarl. The once fertile fields transformed into a frozen wasteland. The storm's devastation echoed in empty covers and silent fields. With no harvest to speak of, the meager savings dwindled, replaced by a gnawing hunger that stalked the halls of their home like a spectral predator. Pride, once a sturdy shield, now felt like brittle pottery, easily shattered by the cold reality of empty bowls. Amelia, her eyes dulled by worry, stretched every morsel into a feast, weaving stories of warmth around the flickering fire to drown out the growling of empty stomachs. Silas, humbled by the cruel twist of fate, swallowed his pride and trudged to the town square, a place he'd always known as a stage for gossip, not desperation. Yet there he stood, amongst the weathered faces of his neighbors, each drawn by the same gnawing emptiness. The breadline, once a distant shadow whispered about in hushed tones, became his reality. The meager loaf, stale and heavy, seemed like a cruel jest against his calloused hands, hands that now begged for scraps they once created. Shame burned in his throat, hotter than the meager gruel they served at the soup kitchen. Yet, seeing Amelia's thin frame, Feeling the bony fragility of Thomas's growing body, he choked back his pride and swallowed his shame, each bite a bitter reminder of his helplessness. But Silas wasn't one to surrender to despair. His spirit, like the gnarled oak on the edge of his field, bent but never broke. He bartered his skills, mending fences for a farmer down the road, teaching carpentry to a young boy in exchange for flour and potatoes. Each act, a small victory against the encroaching shadows of hunger, a testament to the resilience that hung beneath his weathered skin. The community, once a tapestry of loosely woven threads, became a lifeline. Neighbors, their own cupboards barely fuller, shared what little they had: eggs from stolen chicken coops, apples gleaned from forgotten orchards. Each gift, a whispered defiance against the winter's harsh grip, a reminder that even in the bleakest moments, humanity could bloom like a hidden wildflower. As the winter raged on, Silas stood tall amidst the storm of hardship. He had traded his scythe for a hammer, his plow for a saw, his pride for resilience. In the dance of survival, he learned new steps, forging unexpected alliances, finding strength in the quiet solidarity of his community. He knew the spring wouldn't be an easy one. The soil, ravaged by the storm and starved of nutrients, promised a meager harvest. Yet, as the first timid rays of sun pushed through the frost, a flicker of hope rekindled in his eyes. He had faced the abyss of winter, and within it, he had discovered a wellspring of resilience, a community's silent strength. And with that, he turned his face towards the sun, ready to till the barren earth, planting seeds of hope in the frozen ground, seeds nurtured not just by his sweat, but by the shared breath of a community that had weathered the winter together, ready to bloom anew in the uncertain light of spring. Chapter 8. Spring's Uncertain Song, a Leap of Faith. The first whispers of spring danced on the wind, a tentative melody against the backdrop of a ravaged landscape. The fields, once vibrant with life, lay dormant, scarred by the winter's cruel bite and the storm's brutal dance. Yet, in the air itself, there was a hint of possibility, a whisper of renewal that stirred something deep within Silas. He surveyed the barren expanse, his calloused hands clutching a seed catalog, a foreign object in his world. The pages, filled with unfamiliar names and bold promises, offered a glimpse into a world beyond the tried-and-true methods of his ancestors. Crop rotation, cover crops, natural fertilizers, words that once felt like whispers of heresy now resonated with the desperation gnawing at his gut. The whispers of doubt were loud, echoing from the furrowed brows of his neighbors, the skeptical snorts of old man Jeb. "Fool's errand," they scoffed. "Tampering with the land's rhythm, that's a recipe for ruin." But the melody of hope within Silas drowned out the chorus of doubt. He remembered the migrant workers' stories, whispers of a man named Fukuoka, a Japanese farmer who dared to speak of a different way, a way that nurtured the land instead of exploiting it. He saw the potential in the words, a chance to heal the ravaged soil, to coax life back into the barren earth. Hesitantly, he ventured into the unknown. He planted cover crops, their roots weaving a protective blanket against the harsh sun and wind. He experimented with natural fertilizers, coaxing life from compost and manure. He swapped stories with younger farmers, their eyes alight with the same desperate hope, their hands eager to try new rhythms. The days were long and fraught with uncertainty. The unfamiliar methods felt like a clumsy dance, each step unsure, each outcome a gamble. The sun, once a familiar friend, now seemed to watch with a judgmental eye, the wind a mocking whisper of failure. But then, a green shoot, defying the odds, pushed through the hardened earth. Another followed, and another, a chorus of life rising from the ashes of despair. The corn, planted with a prayer and a trembling hand, unfurled its emerald leaves, a fragile promise against the vastness of the sky. A cautious smile touched Silas' lips, the first in months that felt genuine. The melody of hope, once a whisper, grew stronger, a defiant counterpoint to the chorus of doubt. He wasn't alone in this dance. He saw it in the hopeful eyes of his son, in the shared dreams of his neighbors, in the silent partnership with the land itself. The spring unfolded, a cautious symphony of green and gold. The harvest, though not bountiful, held the promise of a future, a testament to the resilience of the land and the courage of those who dared to dance to its new song. It wasn't a victory, not yet, but it was a step, a leap of faith that had bridged the chasm between despair and hope, a testament to the human spirit's ability to bloom even in the harshest of winters. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the fields, Silas knew the melody of spring was just a prelude. The future remained uncertain, the path ahead fraught with challenges. But he stood tall, his weathered face etched with the quiet confidence of a man who had faced the unknown and found, within himself and his community, a strength that could weather any storm. He had danced to the land's new song, and in its rhythm, he had found a new hope, a melody that carried the promise of a brighter tomorrow, a tomorrow where the fields, once ravaged, would sing again a song of resilience, a song of life. Chapter 9. Harvest Hope, a Gamble's Reward. The sun, a molten disk, dripped towards the horizon, casting long shadows across the fields. Silas squinted, a smile crinkling his eyes, as he surveyed the landscape. The land, once a testament to the storm's wrath, now sang a different melody. The corn stalks, tall and proud, rustled in the evening breeze, their golden beards a promise of bounty. This harvest wasn't just a yield, it was vindication. The whispers of doubt, once a cacophony, had faded into a distant echo. Old man Jeb, his gruffness softened by the sight of overflowing bins, offered a grudging nod of respect. The younger farmers, faces alight with newfound optimism, sought Silas' advice, their hands eager to learn the new dance of the land. The gamble, the leap of faith he'd taken when he embraced the unfamiliar methods, had paid off. The cover crops, woven into the soil, had held moisture and nutrients, creating a haven for life. The natural fertilizers, coaxed from the earth itself, had nurtured the tender shoots, whispering secrets of health and strength. Yet, the success wasn't just due to the techniques. It was a testament to the resilience of the land, the unwavering spirit of Silas and his community. They had faced the storm together, their shared desperation igniting a spark of hope, a refusal to surrender to the winter's harsh grip. As the last wagon groaned under the weight of the harvest, a bonfire crackled in the courtyard, its flames reflecting in the jubilant eyes of the gathered crowd. Songs filled the air, laughter chasing away the ghosts of past hardship. For tonight, they celebrated not just a bountiful harvest, but a community reborn, a spirit revitalized, a melody of hope playing against the backdrop of a future that glittered with possibility. Silas stood amidst the joyous crowd, Amelia's hand nestled in his calloused one. Thomas, no longer a boy but a man, his eyes shone with pride and a newfound respect for his father's gamble. In their shared smiles, there was a reflection of the transformation that had swept through their lives, a testament to the power of belief, of community, of daring to dance to a new rhythm. He looked up at the sky, star-dusted and vast, a canvas painted with the promise of a new dawn. The moon, a benevolent beacon, seemed to wink in encouragement. The storm was just a memory, the whispers of doubt silenced. His hands, once raw from doubt, were now calloused with purpose, etched with the story of a gamble taken and a victory won. Silas, the farmer who dared to dance to the land's new song, had reaped the harvest of hope. It wasn't just a bounty of grain. It was a harvest of resilience, of community, of a future woven from the threads of shared struggle and unwavering spirit. And as the flames of the bonfire danced against the night sky, casting long shadows that stretched towards the horizon, he knew this was just the beginning. The land, the community, and the man himself had all been forever changed. The melody of hope, once a tentative whisper, now resonated with the strength of a chorus, a song that would carry them through whatever storms might come, a song that would forever echo in the fields of his heart. Chapter 10. Golden Fields and Silver Threads. Legacy in the Making. Years had painted the fields in shades of autumnal gold, the cornstalks whispering secrets to the wind in a language only old farmers like Silas understood. He sat on the porch, basking in the late afternoon sun, the lines on his face a map of weathered seasons and hard-won lessons. A car crunched on the gravel driveway, the sound pulling him from his reverie. A tall figure emerged, the familiar gait unmistakable even after all these years. Thomas, his son, taller now than his father ever was, his hair threaded with silver like the twilight sky. The years had been kind to Thomas. The boy who once yearned for city lights now wore the earth under his fingernails, the sun etched into his smile. He carried the legacy of the land not just in his hands, but in the deep understanding that shone in his eyes. They sat in comfortable silence, the breeze carrying the scent of freshly turned soil and distant harvest fires. The unspoken stories hung heavy in the air, a shared tapestry woven from hardship and hope, from the scars of the storm, and the golden bounty of resilience. "It's beautiful, Pa," Thomas finally said, his voice tinged with a familiar awe. "The fields, they look different somehow." Silas chuckled, a low rumble that echoed the distant thunder. "Different, but the same, son. The land, it has its own memory, whispers of the past woven into the present. You just gotta know how to listen." He looked at Thomas, pride swelling in his heart. This city boy, once so eager to escape the soil, now carried its essence within him like a buried treasure. The gamble he'd taken all those years ago, the leap of faith he'd embraced, had planted seeds not just in the earth, but in the souls of his family. They talked of the years that had passed, the successes and struggles, the lessons learned from sunburnt days and starlit nights. Thomas spoke of his own farm, a small patch of land nurtured with the wisdom gleaned from his father's struggles, a melody of hope echoing in the rustling leaves of his own cornstalks. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues of orange and gold, Silas saw a reflection of his own past in his son's eyes. The same uncertainty, the same yearning for a better future, tempered with the understanding that true wealth wasn't measured in bushels of corn, but in the strength of family, the resilience of community, the courage to dance to the land's ever-changing song. They sat in silence as the first stars blinked awake, diamonds scattered across a velvet sky. And in that quiet space, Silas knew the legacy he'd leave behind wasn't just acres of golden fields, but a melody of hope passed down from father to son. A song that would forever echo in the whisper of the wind, a song that would carry them both, even when the fields lay fallow and the sun dipped below the horizon, a song of resilience, of family, of life, a song whispered in the rustle of leaves and carried on the wings of time, a song named Silas.